Many rhythm games throughout the years have revolved around simulating the act of dancing, which you'd probably expect. For a long time, the best we had in that regard was pretty much DDR or Pump It Up, giving players a stage to dance and step to the beat. That would all change in the era of motion controls, however. Game companies surely saw the potential of dancing rhythm games paired with motion controls, and this was also before companies had completely soured to rhythm games, as this was right around / before the Plastic Instrument Games crash, so a lot of game companies were chomping at the bit to get their motion control games out. Enter DanceEvolution. DanceEvolution, also known as DanEvo, is a dancing rhythm game from Konami that uses the Microsoft Kinect. Yeah, haven't heard that name in a while, have you? DanceEvolution requires the player to mimic a dance choreography presented to the player by a dancing character on screen. Think Just Dance, except the indicators tried to match up more directly with the model as they happen, rather than seeing a list of dance moves the player has to prepare to mimic. Just Dance came before this game, by the way. There are a few different note types. The standard note is a green pose that is presented alongside the main dancing character at certain points in the song. When the two indicators come together, you need to be doing that pose. In this way, you're not technically required to dance along to the choreography all the time, but obviously it's encouraged. There are also blue circles that will appear over top of the character throughout. These indicate hand or foot position, and your hands or feet need to be in the correct spots when the character does their move that matches them. There's also a hold note version of this type of note. On some of the higher difficulties, there's a note type that appears on the ground near the character, indicating where and when you should step. Honestly, I wonder how well the Kinect did at tracking this one at home. Lastly, there are what I would describe as orange swipe notes. These orange notes require a continuous hand motion in a certain direction. The arrows will appear and work as sort of sliders for you to move your hand across. All of these combine together to create an active dance choreography for you to play. On the lower difficulties, it relies a lot on the player to follow the dancing and play along, but on the higher difficulties, the game is a flurry of actions giving the player a full dancing experience. We've got a few versions of DanEvo to take a look at, so let's start with the original on Xbox 360. The first version of DanEvo to release was known as DanceEvolution or Dance Masters in the US. This is the one and only Bemani series to ever start as a console release. It was released on November 4th, 2010 in North America, and it requires the Kinect. A lot of dancing games of this style came out around this time, and it was definitely a trend, with a lot of other games in this style like Dance Central and Just Dance. It shipped with 30 songs, 10 of which were unlockable. The game was met with middling reviews, some citing the game's niche soundtrack. As you'd expect, the game is populated with DDR music since that's a lot of the in-house dance music Konami has to pull from. A lot of Naoki and a spattering of other DDR tracks. This surely gave the game a competitive disadvantage in the American market, as a large majority of the popularity of music games, especially in the West, is dependent on the song list. Why would you buy DanEvo and dance to some random Japanese music you've never heard of when you could buy Just Dance and play along to Lady Gaga, or Dance Central featuring music from Daft Punk and the Black Eyed Peas? Konami was at a major disadvantage when it came to song list, and arguably didn't have the gameplay to back it up, with some reviews citing the judgment in the game as oddly touchy. The game would be later ported to an arcade version, but not before another weird stop along the way. Up next is Rhythm Party, which technically exists in the same series, though it does work a bit differently, but then again, when the hell am I ever gonna talk about Rhythm Party elsewhere? So fuck it, here we go. This game is extremely strange. It's the second CS game in the DanEvo series, and as of now is the most recent home release of a Bemani game, which was 9 years ago. You can probably mostly thank Konami for that, since they were shifting their focus heavily away from the console gaming market, but yes, this was our glorious CS send-off. The gameplay of Rhythm Party is significantly more straightforward, being more of a rhythm game where you use your body to hit significantly more standard rhythm game notes like taps, swipes, and holds. I honestly wonder why the gameplay is so different in this version. They licensed exactly 3 songs for this game, which is almost certainly too little too late. But hey, at least they got YMCA and Born This Way now. Other than that, the game had 7 other songs at base. You want more than 10 songs? Better shell out for the DLC, buddy. If you had all the DLC for this game, you got 25 songs. Wow. Amazing. Honestly, the song choice in the DLC is pretty decent if you're a Bemani fan. It seems like they made the same mistake twice, with basically no notable songs that a Western audience would take notice of. But hey, at least it has bag. The game was removed from Xbox Marketplace on February 1st, 2015, though hilariously the DLC is apparently still out there if you have a copy of this sitting in your Xbox 360 and you need to top up your Rhythm Party song collection. It's just a really strange release overall. With that, we move on to the final, most notable release. DanceEvolution Arcade was the final version of DanEvo, and funnily was an arcade port of the console version. All the songs except one from the base game came over to the arcade version, and then they added new ones throughout its life as well. There was also a level system added to the game to allow for progression and unlocking of higher difficulties. The game ended up having 96 songs in total and retained the same gameplay of the original DanEvo console version. God knows what happened to the gameplay of Rhythm Party. The game stayed on this version for the remainder of its life, and around 4 years after its release, was taken offline on August 31st, 2016. With the offline patch came the forced unlocking of all the hidden and challenge songs, as well as the removal of 20 songs. This is something that can happen when a game is given an offline patch. They may not have the license for some of the songs to keep them in the game past the offline patch, so when the game is taken offline, they remove them and allow the game to keep operating. It's definitely unfortunate, but it helps the game to get an offline patch rather than nothing at all. With that, the DanceEvolution series went dormant. DanceEvolution was an interesting series that really tried to capitalize on the motion rhythm games craze, and I would say that for a certain fan base, they did a good job. The gameplay can be flashy and fun at times, and even if the song list isn't to your taste, I do think it fits the game well. There's a good chance that the reason DanEvo disappeared is just due to the Kinect becoming aging and unsupported hardware. The trackers on those cameras were serviceable for the time, but never really that great, and around the time of Microsoft releasing the Xbox One, they started phasing out the Kinect and not supporting it anymore. Plus, those motion rhythm games had kinda lost their luster, and rhythm games as a whole in the West had massively decreased in popularity. The game does live on in some ways, however. The game has grown popular at conventions and can still easily be run today due to the offline patch. It's really great that they at least gave it that and didn't have to resort to completely killing the game. Honestly, I really wish that Konami was willing to give all their series an offline patch. It would help the hardcore fans be able to continue to enjoy the game easier, as that makes it a lot more feasible for convention game rooms to support them when they don't have to work around an unusable network check. Honestly, if Konami has to kill more games in the future, I just really hope they keep doing this. DanceEvolution may live on in homes and conventions, but it still joins the list of dead rhythm games. Thanks for watching. Check out my Twitter and my Twitch. Links are in the description below. You can also check out my Patreon if you want to support my content. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.